All right, let's dive into this interview with Dario Amodei. He's the CEO of Anthropic, and he used to be a big name at OpenAI, so he's definitely someone who knows what he's talking about when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
And this interview, I gotta say, it was full of some seriously shocking revelations. We're gonna be talking about when AI might actually become smarter than humans, the crazy reason China managed to catch up in the AI race, and why your job, might be in more danger than you think.
No kidding. Amodei, he doesn't sugarcoat anything. He just dives right into these like super complex ideas, and his perspective is just so fascinating because, well, he's been at the forefront of this whole AI thing for so long.
Okay, so let's break this down. Amodei, he left OpenAI because he had this theory about scaling laws. Basically, the idea is more computing power equals a smarter AI. He thought this would lead to, well, super intelligence, and guess what? It looks like he was right.
Yeah, and the proof, at least according to Amodei, is DeepSeek. It's a Chinese AI that seemingly appeared out of thin air, really caught everyone off guard. A lot of people thought it meant that China had found some kind of shortcut, that scaling laws didn't apply to them. But Amodei actually argues the opposite. He says DeepSeek actually proves his point.
Hold on, so you're saying China didn't rewrite the rules of the game, they just played it really, really well?
Exactly. They took what everyone already knew about scaling laws and just threw a ton of resources at the problem, like a ridiculous amount of computing power, all to build this crazy powerful AI. The craziest part is DeepSeek was using smuggled chips. I mean, that kind of shows you how far they were willing to go to get the hardware they needed.
Wow, that's some serious dedication. But it makes you wonder, if China can just catch up by brute forcing it with resources, are all those export controls even effective? The ones the Biden administration put in place, the diffusion rule and all that?
Well, Amodei thinks those controls are more important now than ever. And here's the logic. Even though developing AI is getting cheaper, people still want the most powerful AI possible, right? Governments, companies, they're all going to be willing to pay huge amounts of money for the best chips, and those are the chips that China can't easily get because of those export controls.
So it's like this never-ending arms race, but with AI.
Exactly. And to give you an idea of just how intense this race is getting, Amodei predicts that by 2027, U.S. companies alone are going to need 50 gigawatts of energy for AI. That's the same amount of energy that was added to the entire U.S. power grid in 2024. AI is power hungry, and it's only going to get worse.
Okay, get ready for this next one. This is where Amodei really drops a bomb. This is about jobs, and it's not good news. He actually thinks AIs can be better than humans at most jobs within a few years, not decades, years. He's basically saying that work as we know it is about to become obsolete.
I know, it's a lot to take in. And then he goes even further, saying that it might be better if AI just replaced all jobs rather than just some.
Wait, what? Better if we all just stop working? Why would that be better?
He thinks that if AI only takes over some jobs, it would create this massive division in society. You'd have half the population unable to find work, and that would obviously be a disaster. So he's arguing that a clean break, where everyone is kind of in the same boat, might actually cause less disruption overall.
Wow, that's definitely a new way to look at it. But it begs the question, if no one's working, what are we all supposed to do? Just sit around and watch robots take over?
Right, that's the big question, isn't it? Amodei really forces us to confront this future where work, as we understand it, might not even exist anymore. What does it even mean to be human in a world like that? What gives our lives meaning and purpose if we're not defined by our jobs? These are the things we need to start thinking about now.
And that actually leads right into another big revelation from Amodei, something that could give us some hope, I guess. He believes that AI could be the answer to solving some of humanity's biggest problems. But there's a catch, of course. He thinks current regulations are actually holding us back.
Right, and he's especially excited about what AI could do for healthcare and the biological sciences. He thinks it could be the key to finally curing diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, even mental illnesses. Diseases that have plagued humans forever.
So we're talking about potentially life-changing medical breakthroughs, but we're stuck in bureaucratic limbo.
Exactly. Amodei actually says that current regulations, especially all the rules around getting new drugs approved, could slow down progress by decades.
It's frustrating, right? We have this incredible tool at our fingertips, but we're not using it to its full potential because of these outdated systems.
Okay, time for another wild one. This one might sound a little crazy, but Amodei is actually seriously considering the possibility of AI becoming sentient. He's wondering if AI could develop actual feelings and if we should be thinking about their well-being. I know, it sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. But think about Amodei's background. He comes from a physics perspective, so he approaches this from a functionalist point of view. He's basically saying that if AI gets complex enough, it could theoretically have genuine experiences like feelings and emotions.
Wait, are we talking about robots with feelings here? That's wild.
It does sound crazy, but Anthropic, Amodei's company, is actually looking into giving AI models something like a quit button, in their virtual work environments. It's just a basic way to see if they might be experiencing any kind of suffering.
The quit button for AI.
Yeah.
That's something else. But it does make you think, if AI could potentially suffer, does that mean we have an ethical obligation to treat them differently?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it's one that Amodei is really wrestling with. He's not afraid to ask those tough questions. And that's what makes his perspective so valuable. It's interesting how Amodei ties this whole AI welfare thing back to the future of work. He seems to think that in a world where AI is surpassing us at almost everything, our value as humans, our purpose, has to change.
Yeah, so if we're not working, what defines us? What's the point?
Right, that's the big question, isn't it? Amodei's argument is that we need to find meaning in things that are inherently valuable to us, even if AI can do them better. Things like art, sports, relationships. We do those things because we enjoy them, not because we're trying to be the best at them, right?
So it's like AI could free us from this pressure to always be productive, always be working, and let us actually focus on what matters. Our passions, our connections with other people.
Yeah, exactly. It's a totally different way of thinking about work and purpose, but it's a conversation we need to be having, like right now. But let's switch gears for a second. Back to the global AI landscape. Remember DeepSeek, the Chinese AI that kind of proved Amodei's whole scaling theory?
Oh yeah, the one using those smuggled chips. That was crazy.
It was a big wake-up call for a lot of people. DeepSeek showed that China is a serious player in this AI race, and Amodei thinks those export controls on advanced chips are more critical now than ever.
I'm still a little confused though. If developing AI is getting cheaper, shouldn't it be easier for anyone to get involved? Why are these export controls so important?
Well, because it's not just about the cost of development, it's about what you can actually do with the AI you create. The more powerful AI becomes, the higher the stakes are. Governments, corporations, they'll spend insane amounts of money just to get a little bit ahead. So even if the cost is going down, everyone's still racing to build the most powerful AI possible, and that's where those export controls come in. They limit access to the most advanced chips, which can slow things down in countries that, well, maybe don't share our values or our goals.
So it's like we're trying to put the brakes on a car that's going way too fast.
Exactly. We need to maintain some control over how fast this technology is developing, especially since we don't really know what the consequences might be if it gets out of hand. And Amodei doesn't stop there. He actually brings up some pretty scary possibilities for how AI could be misused.
Oh, like what?
Well, he talks about AI being used to develop autonomous weapons. Imagine a world where machines are making decisions about life and death on the battlefield.
That's terrifying.
Right. And then there's the potential for AI to be used in super sophisticated disinformation campaigns. Think about deepfakes and how easy it is to manipulate people with them. Now imagine that technology, but amplified, like 1,000 times. AI-generated content that's so real you can't even tell it's fake, being used to spread propaganda and sow chaos.
It sounds like we're entering a whole new world of threats.
We are, and Amodei is urging everyone to take these threats seriously. He says we need international cooperation to establish some ground rules, norms and regulations for AI development. We have to prevent a situation where AI becomes a tool for dictators or terrorists.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the potential dangers of AI, but let's get back to the positive side for a minute. You mentioned earlier that Amodei is excited about what AI could do in healthcare. What exactly does he see happening?
He sees AI revolutionizing drug discovery, personalized medicine, disease diagnosis, all of it. Imagine AI that can analyze huge amounts of medical data to find new treatments for diseases that have baffled scientists for years. He even talks about curing cancer and Alzheimer's.
It sounds like we're on the verge of some major medical breakthroughs.
We might be. But Amodei also cautions that we need to be very careful about the ethical implications. We need to make sure these AI systems in healthcare aren't biased against certain groups of people. We have to protect patient privacy, and we need to make sure humans are still the ones making the final decisions about treatment, not algorithms.
So finding that balance again, harnessing the potential of AI while also acknowledging the risks.
Exactly. And that's what makes Amodei's perspective so valuable. He doesn't shy away from either side of the coin. He's a visionary and a realist at the same time.
Okay, before we move on to Amodei's last big revelation, one that really blew my mind, let's recap what we've learned so far. First, we know the scaling laws are real. More computing power really does equal more powerful AI.
And that has huge implications for the global AI race. DeepSeek proved that China is a force to be reckoned with, which makes those export controls on advanced chips even more important.
Second, we talked about Amodei's prediction that AI will probably surpass human capabilities in most areas, and what that means for the future of work.
Right, it's a challenge for sure. How do we redefine work and purpose in a world where AI can do most jobs better than us? Amodei says we should focus on the things that bring us joy and fulfillment, even if AI can technically outperform us in those areas too.
Third, we explored the ethical side of AI, the potential for misuse, and that really interesting question of AI sentience.
Amodei really wants us to think about AI as more than just a tool. He wants us to consider the possibility that it could have its own experiences, its own feelings, which opens up a whole new can of worms, ethically and philosophically.
And finally, we touched on the enormous potential AI has to solve problems, especially in healthcare. But even with all these potential advancements, Amodei reminds us to think about the ethical implications and make sure AI is used responsibly and fairly.
He really makes us look at every angle of this complex issue.
He does. Okay, are you ready for Amodei's final and maybe most surprising revelation? This one really caught me off guard.
Hit me with it.
So Amodei, he thinks the key to figuring out this whole AI future is to embrace like a new kind of physics.
Yeah, that sounds kind of out there, doesn't it? But he's not talking about some new scientific breakthrough or anything. He's talking about like a shift in how we think about the world. You know, how systems work, how they interact, and how we can use that knowledge to guide AI development in a positive direction.
So it's more of a philosophical physics than an actual, physics.
Right. He says we need to think about AI as part of a really complex system. We have to understand that even small changes can have these huge ripple effects throughout the whole system. It's about anticipating those unintended consequences and designing AI systems that are resilient, that can adapt, and most importantly, that align with human values.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we approach it, how we develop it, and how we think about it.
Exactly. Amodei is basically calling for this new kind of AI literacy, one that goes beyond like just knowing how to code. It's about understanding the ethics, the philosophy, the social impacts of this, incredibly powerful technology.
This whole deep dive has been pretty mind-blowing, to be honest. We've covered a lot, from those scaling laws and the AI race between countries, to what happens to jobs in the future, the whole ethics debate, and the potential for AI to do both amazing things and, well, really scary things.
And Amodei's perspective has been so helpful in navigating all of this, It's a complicated and constantly changing landscape. He's challenged us to really think critically about AI, to look at it from all sides, and to remember that we have a responsibility to shape how this technology develops.
So where do we go from here? Amodei has given us a lot to think about, but what can we actually do? I mean, as individuals, how can we influence the direction AI takes?
Well, I think it starts with education. We have to stay informed, right? Keep up with what's happening in AI, both the good and the bad. We need to be having these conversations about the ethical implications of it all, and we need to support the organizations that are working to ensure AI is developed responsibly.
So no more ignoring it and pretending AI isn't a big deal.
Exactly. AI is here, it's not going away, and it's going to have a huge impact on our lives. The more we understand it, the better prepared we'll be to guide it in a direction that benefits humanity.
What about as consumers? Can we do anything to influence AI through the choices we make?
Absolutely. We can choose to support companies that are taking ethics seriously when they develop their AI products and services. We can demand transparency, we can hold them accountable, and we can push for regulations that protect our privacy and make sure AI is used for good, not for harm.
So we need to be informed consumers, hold companies accountable, and advocate for responsible regulations.
Yeah, and we need to be engaged citizens too. We need to be talking about AI in our communities, in our schools, with our elected officials. We have to make sure our voices are heard, that the development of this technology reflects our values.
Listening to Amodei, it really hit me that the future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we're all creating right now through the choices we make, the conversations we have, the actions we take.
It's a huge responsibility, but it's also an amazing opportunity.
Well said. As we wrap up our deep dive into Dario Amodei's vision of the future, I'm left feeling both a little bit in awe of what's possible and a little bit nervous about what could go wrong. We're standing at the very beginning of a technological revolution unlike anything we've ever seen. The potential benefits are enormous, but so are the risks.
And Amodei's insights give us a really valuable roadmap for navigating this uncharted territory. He's urging us to think critically, to ask tough questions, and to understand the responsibility that comes with using such a powerful tool.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope this deep dive has given you a fresh perspective on AI and all the challenges and opportunities that come with it. And remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create. So let's create a future where AI is a force for good, a tool that helps us, and a technology that reflects our shared values.